Hello, everybody. This is the Hollywood Rabbi, and this week's Torah portion is called Noach. Noah's name means comfort. Noah was the most righteous person from his generation, and he provided a lot of comfort for people who knew him. Only thing is that Noah was not successful in getting people to change their ways. The world had gotten corrupt. There was a lot of robbery and violence, and there was also lack of care for one another and lack of gratitude. To give you an example, there was somebody came to sell, let's say, grapes at the market, and everybody would just take one grape off, so it wasn't a crime. A grape was worth less than the lowest currency, so the person had nothing to sell at the end. And God had to rethink the whole idea of creation because man was spoiling everything. And man was ungrateful for the blessings that God gave him. This is in direct contrast to the Babylonian flood epic called the Gilgamesh. The Gilgamesh was basically just about some arbitrary gods that wanted to get some sleep, and the people were talking too much and keeping them awake, so they decided to do away with them and have a flood on the earth. So the gods decided to do away with the people and have a flood and just wipe out all humanity. The Bible talks about free will. People had made a choice not to believe in God, not to care about God, not to be thankful for all the blessings that they had. And the reason why God had chose to destroy the earth with a flood was that people weren't even grateful for the basic building block of life, which is water. They said, "We don't need your water, God. We have plenty of streams and freshwater ponds, and we don't even need your water." So God decided that he needed to start over again, and it's sort of a recreation of the world, in that sense that Noah was in charge of collecting two of each kind of species. And imagine how difficult it was for him to sustain and feed all of those creatures on this ark. And it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And you know the story about the sending the dove out to find dry land. The way in which the Bible narrates how the land, the water separated from the land, was very similar to the way it was talked about in creation. A lot of people think that Noah's Ark is resting somewhere on Mount Ararat in Turkey. But we haven't confirmed it beyond a shadow of a doubt yet. There are still people out there looking for it. And then there was a covenant made that God would never destroy the world through flood again. Now, I'm not sure if this is regret because he did this, or if it's just wasn't a good idea. The next generation of people decided to make a tower. And they said that they wanted to build this tower basically in effigy to themselves and their accomplishments. So they had gotten along with each other. At least they weren't harming each other. So their punishment was that other languages were created. They couldn't communicate, so they had to spread out in different places. And they had to discontinue their Tower of Babel. They built it with bricks. It was the way that people built before was just they unearthed rocks and used that in the construction. But this was man transforming nature and making these bricks. And there's nothing wrong with transforming nature. Human beings are supposed to create biologically and technologically because they were created in the image of God. There's nothing wrong with technology, but there is something wrong with not being a grateful person. And that is what prayer does for us Every day we learn to say thank you, and we don't take anything for granted. The more we become aware of our blessings, the more thankful we are and the happier we become. And we can pass this happiness on to other people and validate the efforts of other people as well. And that's what prayer does for us. It gets us used to saying thank you and being aware that we are not just entitled, but all the good things that happen in our life are a result of a blessing. And with this note, I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Next week, we will be talking about Abraham. He came after 10 generations and is mentioned in the Bible for 40 chapters. That's right, 40 chapters talking about Abraham and how he changed the game. So until then, be safe and have a great week, everybody. And be grateful.